And obviously, feel free at any point to hop in with questions or anything else that you think of, and your own knowledge and experience as well would be really welcome, Anita. I think our view for the workshops is to try and allow everyone to bring their own knowledge and their own wisdom, and not, you know, I don't feel like an expert, and I don't think Adele would necessarily say she feels like she's an expert and knows it all either. So I think everyone brings their own wisdom, and it's really important that we all share that. We kind of decided to break out the subject of overwhelm into, and how we manage our own ways of dealing with overwhelm and things that we've learned through others, into 3 kind of key areas. So the first one we decided to look at was our mindset, because that often then helps us with making some lifestyle changes and the choices of those lifestyle changes we might make. And then the last one we were going to cover was movement practices to help us with managing overwhelm as well. So like little physical things we can do to help reduce it. And the mindset, we have so much. Oh my God, it was like, it was so funny. We were going through this and it became overwhelming to us planning it. So we've tried to really narrow it down, although Adele just threw in a few extras at the last minute. We'll see how this ends up. But they're awesome, so I had to include them. So the first one, which I actually think is probably one of the harder ones, and I feel like I might swap around our order slightly, Adele, if that's okay. So I'm going to start with quality over quantity. Because I feel like that's quite a good way for us to begin with thinking about a mindset change, is that we've kind of been in a culture of consumption and more so filling up our diaries more and being more busy, and it's like we're constantly having this quantity thing going on, and you know, we want a quantity of life experiences and a quantity of friends and whatever else it is that we want much of, as opposed to stopping and necessarily always thinking about the quality of what it is that we're engaging with and experiencing. And so with the adjustment of things at the moment, I think it's also really trying to strictly apply where that quality is coming through from in our lives. So I think it's very easy to get into a quantity of computer consumption and social media and you know, feeling like that is a way of staying engaged and connected with people, but actually maybe we're not really connecting with the people we need to be connecting with, or the news that we need to be connecting with as well, and what news you're choosing and how that affects you, what sources you're turning that attention to, is the quality of your attention when you're looking at the news, and noticing how it changes your energy. So, you know, I think it's important still to know what's going on in the world, but are we kind of getting sucked into a conspiracy of it all? And are we getting sucked into the sadness and the woe? Or are we still seeing those beautiful stories about the nature that is starting to find itself revived? And are we seeing some beautiful creativity and kind connections? So that balance. And that always comes back to me, to connecting into feeling of, if it makes me feel good, then I know it's a quality interaction, and if it's kind of draining me, it's a quantity interaction. And with that comes an acceptance of the present moment, which was our first point, which is that, you know, that's what I'm choosing to engage with at that time, and acceptance of what I'm choosing to put my attention into at this moment in time, being a part of acceptance of the present, rather than jumping into the big picture and the worry and the scaleness. But I guess it's also how we find acceptance in different ways. I was having this chat actually with one of the head injury groups that I'm a part of, because I had a head injury several years ago. So that's my background, Anita. And what I found, the conversation we were having about acceptance, was that kind of getting caught in the woe of our story and kind of finding ourselves in this spiral and not being able to maintain that witness of the emotions just flowing through and allowing them to flow and be gone. You know, when we get caught with the emotion and the story, we can get into this spiral, we lose the objectivity, and then we stop being in the present, and we can't accept it because it becomes overwhelming and it becomes a big thing to hold. But if we can try and just be in the present and accept it for what it is and allow whatever we're experiencing just to flow through, it allows it to pass like a wave, and it allows it just to be what it is and know that it will change.
And I find a really good practice is to write down what I'm going through or what's going on in my head. So I've got about 5 different journals for different aspects of my life. But I've got one where I always write things like dreams or things that come up in my life that I just want to just get out. So if I'm getting overwhelmed with lots of thought going around in circles, then I'll just go, okay, I just need to download this stuff, and I'll just write a big long tirade. I won't care about spelling or anything. I'll just journal it. And so I've gone through, I don't know, tons of journals in my life where I just have a practice of writing, and it's a really good thing to do daily or at night time when you go to bed, and you just write down, or at least think through, but ideally you just have set yourself 10 minutes just to write down anything that happened to you during the day or that you were thinking about, to just get that blur out of you so that you can then have a clear mind to go to sleep, because it's a part of the processing. And if you can help your mind to process it before you go to sleep, you've actually got a lot better quality of sleep, because you're not still doing so much of that churning while you're sleeping. And then you wake up better for the next day and you can get the whole thing working better. And what goes really well with that is to have positive affirmations. So for years now, I've worked with one positive affirmation at a time, but it could have several different words in it, and it's always a positive thing. So I am, like in the yoga nidra, exactly the same. So it could be I am loving, patient and kind, or something like that. Some qualities that I want to bring into my life. And I usually think about it at pivotal times like New Year's Eve, when I try and work out, or crisis moments or anything when things are going pear-shaped. I think, okay, is my affirmation working? Have I forgotten my affirmation? And then repeating it to myself at least 3 times, morning and night. So first thing when I wake up, say it 3 times. And then before I go to sleep, so you're ready for bed, you're lying down, and just saying three affirmations, the same ones, and using those same ones. And it's the repetition, the daily repetition of the same thing, that then eventually it enters your subconscious because it's positive and it's in the present tense, and eventually it goes in your subconscious and you start to live it. And you just have to trust it will come, because it does if you stick with the practice.
I would also add with the affirmations that I do a lot of affirmation work with law of attraction, and sometimes it can be hard to get into your affirmation if you're not really feeling it. So sometimes you have to stage your affirmations so that you can, it's one of the most important things when it comes to affirmations and setting sankalpas or intentions, personal resolves, whatever you want to call them, is the feeling aspect. So you carry far more energy if your feeling is aligned with your intent, with the affirmation or the intention of what you're saying. So as you're saying it, really sense, feel, try and be in what it is that you're trying to feel in your life that you want to come true. And by having that emotion, it carries a huge amount more energy to manifest it faster. And so if you're trying to set an affirmation that feels like it's way an unobtainable goal, then you have to kind of rein it back in a little bit and step it up as you start to feel into it a little bit more over time. And that can also go not just at the end of the day, but you can do it at the beginning of the day. So intention setting in your morning of what kind of a day you want to have even. So you can start really small and just be today I'm going to have a day where I'm going to stay calm and centered. And that could be your intention for the day. And every time you feel yourself getting, caught between all of the kids and all of their different things, and you're starting to feel yourself getting in that wobble, it's my intention today was to stay calm and centered, and just try and, whatever you did in the morning that was I'm going to stay calm and centered, and you say that to yourself 3 to 5 times, and you're feeling into that, it's going to encourage you to have that sense feeling that you can then tap into when you start getting pulled out of it during your day.
It's also a really good way to stay in the present as well. It's a good reminder. Come back to the present, use your affirmation or your intention, your daily intention, to snap yourself back into that present moment.
Can I ask a question? With the affirmation, does it always start with I am?
It doesn't have to, but I've always done it that way. Personally.
Sometimes when I say I am calm, and then I start feeling not calm, I feel like, oh, I knew it wasn't going to work. You know, sometimes can you say, may I be calm, or may I feel, is that considered an affirmation, or is it better to try and embody that feeling with I am?
I would say, like, if you're so, like, effectively you're so resistant and kind of so disbelieving in what it is that you're trying to feel, which is why the feeling's quite important, because if as you're saying it, you're resisting it, there's a balance, right, between the fake it till you make it approach, which is where you say it enough times. But obviously what you can do if you're not careful and you're trying to do the fake it till you make it, is if you're so resistant and you're saying it, but actually your energy is going, I'm never calm, I'm never going to be calm, oh my God, I'm so stressed, you're actually putting out, I'm stressed, and you're drawing more stress. Right? So that's why I'm saying, like, you know, you start with something smaller than that, or you can start with a bit like the metta compassion practice, where you say, may you be happy, may you be well, may you be healthy. You can take it that approach, so it's a bit more compassionate. And that's one of the key things with mindset, is that sense of self-compassion for not being maybe where you want to be, and saying, I'm where I am. May I be happy and well where I am. May I be content where I am, and may I be calm where I am, and just trying to allow yourself to kind of be where you are with that sense of compassion.
I think both work really well, and they both can work together. I think you can have aspects that you're working on, and you use that may I, and you're asking for help, because just by asking for it also opens you up to then receiving more as well, and that will then enable you to slowly start to say I am with a bit more conviction, and carry a bit more of the emotion, the feeling of the thing. So I think, yeah, it's a really good transition.
Yeah, and it's also, I'd also say, like, dreaming, you know, like, allow yourself to have a bit of that sense of daydreaming in it, can help you move into what you're trying to achieve. So allowing yourself to have that, like, childlike daydream about it, and be like, oh, you know, like, I'm 5 years old and the world is full of beautiful bluebells and it's all okay. And as you feel into that, you know, then it's a little bit easier to feel like it may feel fantastical, but it's okay. And that childlike approach can then also help you with keeping that witness state of kind of what you're being like throughout the day.
And I think another really, really good tool that I use all the time is to listen to music that is really inspiring and uplifting. So I have a whole list of different singers. A lot of it's mantra chanting, but it doesn't have to be. I also listen to classical music, choral music, or orchestral or opera music that is just spiritually uplifting. So it's like, it pulls you up. It's like going to a really beautiful concert, and you just feel like your whole spirit's lifted, and the energy of everyone around you is lifted. And you can get that same feeling really quite quickly if you just put your headphones in. If the kids are just going nuts in the background, you just put your headphones on, go to the bathroom, you have to, or go for a walk, and just, you know, listen, or just while you're cooking, whatever you're doing, just put some mantra on, or some beautiful music that really helps to lift your heart. And then that puts you in a better space that you can then, if you want, you could then use your mantras as well, or your affirmations, and remind yourself of your intentions after that practice. So I think if a first step could actually be, if you're feeling really out of sorts, really down, is just stick some music on. Don't worry about the whole trying to change your mindset, just stick the music on, and then let that do the work for you.
I also find that when I'm really struggling with kind of getting into a good headspace, and I can tell I'm just having one of those days where I've woken up and it's just like, I can't do anything right, the world is wrong, and it's just, you know, everything's going to get at you, is to try and find one simple thing that I enjoy. And mostly for me, that's watching the light dance on leaves. So as long as I can go and just watch a tree in some wind, that will normally like help me be like, okay, everything's okay now. Like, but it's finding literally the most simple thing to kind of get your attention, that you really enjoy, that is a really simple pleasure that just helps you go, it doesn't need to be all of this other stuff that I'm trying to manage. And sometimes that can just be that little thing that you take a moment for yourself. It may not reset the day into it being amazing, but it's amazing how it can reset you from like to like simplicity and beauty that is around you when it's not too much.
And sometimes just resetting ourselves and our own energy, our own feelings inside can just switch the feelings around us. So I've noticed all the time that if I can switch my own energy, it switches the kids' energy as well. So it is really, start to notice, if you practice it, switching your own energy consciously, notice the effect on the other people around you, and that gives you more. If you just see it happen at least once, you think, oh wow, I just changed that whole thing around. The whole family situation was going pear-shaped. I just flicked that around just by my own mindset change. And I know I can do that, and even though I can't always do it, at least I know that it's possible, and that gives me hope.
And I remember noticing that a lot when I used to teach mum and baby classes, and like the mums would come in quite stressed out, and you know, maybe in a bit of a kind of, you know, worrying about getting the baby settled and whatever was going to happen. And if I could manage to get the mums to calm down and just focus a little bit on what we were trying to do, it's amazing how the babies would just go really quiet and cute and cuddly, and then were easy. And then you had to get the mums to do it. If you could see a mum was still like this, you know, it was like the baby would start going in the corner, you know, even though they weren't even together, like, because they just feel your energy and what you're putting off. And so if you know you're getting riled up, like one of the most useful things is to be like, hang on, I'm getting really riled up. Take like a big breath, let it all go. You know, think of one beautiful thing, and like, okay, I'm now going to approach you with like how I would like you to treat me. You know, I would like to be receiving some kindness, so I'm going to show you that kindness, and hopefully you'll then reciprocate that back, and then you start to have a different dance with someone. It's hard not always to want to get that rage or whatever it is that's coming through, especially if there's a trigger.
Yeah, it's really hard, and that's where the compassion comes in, and knowing that it's a life's work.
Yeah, and that protective nature is something that you're responsible for, is also very different balance, right? You know, and you're trying to show compassion, but there's that protective element. Sometimes it can come across a bit strongly. So it's just trying to allow yourself those. And then if you've got the time, listening to something that is calming or uplifting, or maybe a bit of both, or even like podcasts and talks that you find really uplifting. You know, I have a weird kind of on-off love of Oprah's soul conversations. Like, some of them are amazing, and then sometimes I'm like, she's having a big head day. But you know, like, so sometimes you can tap into that. Like, sometimes I find I get into Tony Robbins and I can be like, cool, I feel like I can take on the world, and then other days I'm like, yeah, I'm not taking on the world, he's just he's overachieving. But finding those things that you can, like, helps you reset. And if you're not in responding to that reset, just being okay with not responding to it as well. But it is just trying to, I really think a lot of it is trying to put yourself in a position of what you'd like to receive, give out what you want to receive as much as you can, is what I would say. So set the intention of what you want to receive, treat people with what you want to receive, and try and make that a quality engagement that is of the now. And that generally reduces down a lot of the excess noise in our mind.
I find reading uplifting, inspiring books are really good too for that. Books that are all about being in the present being compassionate. Yeah.
These are two of my favorite books. Kids' book about friendship. It's just really cute. Follow her on Instagram. If you're ever lonely, you can just look at Liz Climo. She used to be the drawer for The Simpsons, and they're just so cute. Like, they're really loving and really cute, like friendship things of different animals. And she does wonderful kids series stuff and drawings and things. Like, it's just really beautiful, so full of love and like adorable stuff. And if you've got kids, that's a great one. And then, but it never stops to tickle me. And then this is one that I really like for just cheering me up, which is called Finding Beauty. I just find that for me, finding little, like, they're really short poems. And funnily enough, I've opened it on slowing down. So they're short poems, and then he has like little quotes as well from famous people. So I think it's just finding these kind of books, and I often find them in really random like flower shops and stuff. They're never like, I never dig them out in a bookshop.
Yeah.
But it's just having something that it's like, like the toilet book that you can just pick up and find.
Who's that
quick,
one?
beautiful, uplifting read.
What was the author of that one, Nid?
Patrick Lindsay.
Patrick Lindsay.
These are like my go-to. They sit by my desk. I mean, there's another one that I love, but it's a little bit more complex. That's also really beautiful. I got this from one of my yoga teacher trainers, called The Book of Awakening. So he's a poet as well, and he does a poem for every day of the year, and then he has like an explanation behind the poem, and then he also puts in a meditation or a mindfulness practice that you can use with the poem. And that's a really lovely book. It's got an Oprah Winfrey review as well. So, I think I found that having those kind of books really helps me when I can't get out of my own head.
I've got lots on I like my Audible as well. I've got tons of Audible. Yeah, this is Audible. So I've got heaps on there that I really like.
I'd love some recommendations, Adele.
Sure. Yeah, maybe we could both put a list together of our books and music that we really find inspiring.
I've got loads.
Yeah.
These are the books that had to travel around the world with me when I was doing retreat. Like, I had like half a suitcase of books to take.
Oh, wow.
I like to flip open. Like, I do it as a meditation practice of like, I would like to feel, and then I open it, and that's what it gives me. I'm going to let Jenny through.
Oh, great. Okay. Cool. We haven't quite got. We've still got 10
minutes. The lifestyle. Hi, Jenny.
Yeah. So we were going to start lifestyle. Hello, Jenny. Hi.
We've got enough time.
Yeah, okay.
I think so, yeah. And then
we're going to talk about having a good routine for your day as our first point, and having set meal times keeping the regularity of meal times, even without the whole framework of work and school and things at the moment. We are going to talk about that next week though, so maybe that's something we could leave a bit more until next week. What do you reckon, Nid?
Yeah, I mean, we were going to go into detail in particular about morning routines to set up your day. So I guess, and obviously we've touched on a bit of that with some of these other practices, but I guess the key is to try and keep that structure in your day. So, that you're not starting to get that feeling of like, what day is it, I mean, I have to admit, I'm terrible for knowing what day of the week it is, and I've been like that for years. So that sense of not knowing what day of the week it is, I don't think is actually a problem. I think it's quite good for us. But I think having a routine every day, even 7 days a week, and trying to keep it fairly structured is really important, because when we've got set meal times, it helps kind of come back to the body, the nourishment, communal time potentially, and keeping some structure of like when you get up, when do you do exercise, when are you doing some lessons or certain activities, so that your day can reduce down some of that overwhelm of like, oh, what are we doing now? Where's the choices and all of that. I guess that's what I would just say about the overall day is, that wind down to bedtime stuff as well, being a part of structuring it. And the healthy food. If you plan in meal times, then you can plan in the cooking and the preparation to make sure that obviously meals are healthy. because when we're not eating well, we don't feel well.
That for me is absolutely essential. Makes a massive difference what I'm eating and how much and when and what combinations. So I find I can induce anxiety feelings just by what I eat. It's that simple. If I eat too much sugar, even if it's just fruit, I can get all the aches and pains and things that go on, and feelings of tightness in my chest and all those feelings that I get if I'm actually fearful of something, like anxious. I can get that just by what I eat. So yeah, I find that's a really big one. I think a lot of us carry symptoms from what we eat that we're not even aware of, because we're so familiar with what we eat that we don't separate out the feelings that we have in our day with what we eat versus all the other things that are going on in our lives. That's probably another whole workshop in that.
And if your body's not processing, like, you know, if you're not eating a diet that your body can process, then you're not really, it stops you from being able to emotionally process your day because of that brain-gut connection. And where the vagus nerve sits in the stomach as well. So, you know, your vagus nerve is this nerve throughout the whole of your stomach, and as it's picking up, you know, food that it doesn't want to digest, it's telling your brain, and that's going to give you an emotional kind of disarray, which is part of what they're showing in links to depression and links to other mental health, like Adele's identifying certain foods for her trigger that anxiety. For me, it's insomnia. If I don't have the right kind of diet, I just stop sleeping, and then not sleeping makes you mad. So, you know, it's kind of trying to identify what foods it is for you that are triggering those emotional responses that you can't digest. And also identifying them in your kids and how your kids react, right? You know that if you give your kids a ton of sugar, they're going to be off the walls. And trying to balance how to do that. So I think there's that aspect in terms of nutrition, which I'm sure, I have a feeling Adele's going to end up doing a workshop on, for sure. And then we were saying, like, prioritizing our activities in the day in terms of our lifestyle management. So most mindset coaches, achievement goal work, and also mental health studies show that trying to set 3 to 5 goals a day is the most sensible thing to do. And we thought we would transfer that across to, like, our achievable goals on computers and technology. So trying to be like, what are the 3 to 5 things max that I'm going to do on the computer a day, so that I don't get sucked into whatever the 8 million other things are that are easy to do on your machines. So trying to limit them to what are priorities. Which we also added in trying to do a digital detox. Potentially. But quite a few people have started doing, like, full days, switching everything off.
Yeah.
Which I guess if you can and that works for you, then go for it.
Yeah. I can highly recommend that, because every year we go camping after Christmas for 2 weeks. And the first few days we're still attached to our phones and things and tablets and whatever. And after a few days, we don't really need them anymore. We've just grounded enough. And then I spend the rest of the whole time with my phone. I don't even know where my phone is, let alone whether it's charged. And I do not want to know about it. And it is so good. It's just amazing how good you feel when you're not constantly connected and distracted by social media and little things of the notifications, and having to instantly respond to some little fire that you've just got in on your email. It's amazing how that affects you, and it just is a constant drain on our energy in our normal lifestyle. If we can give ourselves breaks or limit it during the day. So maybe set 20-minute blocks where you're only going to have social media for 20 minutes a day, and that's your time. And after that, it's stop, for example, just to try and manage it a bit, if that's an issue for you.
And also unwinding at night, because obviously blue screen really affects the inducement of melatonin in your brain to start to want to fall asleep. So if you're looking at screens, even watching TV at night, you're going to find that your brain doesn't know it's time to really wind down and go to sleep, because of the glare from the screen in your eyes doesn't allow that natural cycle to start to kick in. And so trying to ensure that you have, you know, an hour before you go to bed without looking at screens is going to be really helpful for setting up that better lifestyle for better quality sleep. If sleep is proving to be an issue, I know a lot of people have been saying sleep's been a real issue since this has all begun. And so, you know, that's definitely kind of what they call sleep hygiene is really important, in terms of not watching screens, putting your phone on, whatever, before you go to bed, and having like a routine at bedtime to help you wind down and calm down, you know, with that calming music, with some journaling, with, you know, a conversation. In fact, one of the things we didn't talk about was reflective practices with a partner, where, you know, you can just sit and review the day and have that chat about how's the day gone for me, how's the day gone for you, without interrupting each other, but just allowing yourself to be heard. And just kind of, you know, having those steps to get you to bed, so that there's an unwinding of your day, as it were, that then when you get into bed, hopefully you feel like you can rest.
And I'd also highly recommend the practice of turning off all the bright lights in the house, at least, well, ideally half an hour or more before you want the kids or yourself to go to bed. It is amazing how much that just drops people's energy down into sleep mode. So if I want the kids to go to bed, the first thing I do is I turn all the bright lights off. And they're like a moth too. So if you put the lamps on in their bedroom, make it cozy in there, and then you just turn all the other lights in the house off, and you go sit in their bedroom, they'll come to the bedroom, no problem. At least that's my experience. And I certainly know how effective it is, particularly if you've got bright fluoro lights, but basically any light that isn't a really soft, gentle, yellow, warm light, you just get all the overhead lights off. And a good half an hour before bed, and everyone will be ready for sleep.
Yeah, because it takes that half an hour. You need a half an hour for the brain to start secreting enough melatonin to start to fall asleep. So that's kind of that key thing, is to have that half hour time to start to allow that unwinding, so that the brain can start to make that transition. And it is so impacted by light. That's the key thing to recognize, is it's what's coming through our eyes is changing that chemical balance. So, you know, whatever those practices are that help you, lighting is key. So you're probably going to find yourself doing less stuff that requires a big light as you go to bed. So those were our lifestyle points that we kind of skimmed over. We'll obviously give you some more time next week. We were going to spend a little bit more time next week going through morning routines to be a bit more energized and in a positive headspace for the day, so that we can stay calm and centered. But we were going to run through a couple of the movement things now, so there will be a bit of getting moving if you want to. You don't have to, as we go into them. But our first movement one, which I think both Adele and I were like, this is the must, is getting outside, preferably barefoot into ground, because the energy of digital technology, especially at the moment, but also Overwhelm, is we're all up here, and it's getting the energy back down into the earth, which is very calming. And if you can stand on earth for 20 minutes, whether that's soil, grass, sand, whatever it is that you've got, and just have your feet preferably barefoot for 20 minutes a day, it makes a huge difference to your energy being a little bit more calm and dropping down in the body. And especially because it's our feet which really help us let energy go down into the earth. So we really want to allow the chakras of the feet to open and let things drain into the ground. So if you, I often found when I lived in London, I couldn't really get to grass very easily, oddly enough, because London's not very good for that. So what I was going to say is there's a couple of practices you can do with your feet, which I'm going to try and show you from over here. I might grab a chair. So if you can't get outside, what you can do is you can like take your foot and you put your fingers in between each toe. Okay, so you start to get a bit of a lovely toe stretch. Don't know if you guys can see. And then you're going to just comfortably hold it, and you start to just do circles with the ankle. And this starts to just open up the chakras in the feet, and it's very grounding, and also you're touching your foot, and tactile feedback is a really good way of activating the feet. And then you can, once you've kind of moved and played with it, and you can do some little twists and, you know, bend and flex your toes to help open it up. You could then, and I would, you know, but I'm sure Adele would also give you specific meridian points to let go of, but I would just say, just feel your foot. And where it hurts is probably where you want to give it a little bit more of a rub. And that can be a really nice way of doing it. The other option with your feet, if you can, is to put them in really hot water. That's a very good traditional Chinese medicine technique that can help with sleep. And what it does is, when it's so hot, when you stick it on your foot, it just pulls the energy through your feet. And it's like a flush that comes through and relaxes you. but you want it to be like almost so hot you don't want to put your toes in. So that's the first thing, is the feet and being in nature. Okay, so obviously I can't show you nature here.
And I'd also add to that, that if you're out in nature and you can get to a natural body, like the beach particularly, or a creek, then get your feet into that, because the energy transfers much faster, particularly if you're in the salty water, because the salt helps to transfer energy.
And that's the other thing to say, salt water is really cleansing. So if you do a lot of physical work with people, you'll need to be in salt. It's really good to be in salt water because it just cleanses you so much faster than anything else.
And that could be a bath too, with Epsom salts, magnesium salts in the bath. That's really effective. That's a great thing going into winter. Have an Epsom salt bath before bed, and you will sleep so much better.
So I don't have a bath, so I go with the foot bath approach.
Yeah.
But I put Epsom salts in the foot bath, same thing. 20 minutes. It's also magnesium, so it will help with sleep and digestion. Okay, so then the next one that I've got on the list that Adele and I run through was meridian flushing. So this is, again, another movement one that you can do. And I'm going to do my version, Adele, if that's all right, but you can always jump in and take over if you want me to do your one. So
can I do yours?
My version's quite tactile, because I think it's important that we learn to touch our bodies, because often it helps us connect back into a slightly more compassionate sense of self. So it's a reaching up of the arms, take a big stretch, take your arms, hands down over your arms, and as you come down over the body, it's like you hug the back of your shoulders, come across your belly, you take your hands down the back of your hips, and you just press the hands down the back of the thighs, the knees, the calves. You take a nice big stretch over, and as you come to the front, you can press your hands onto your feet, push your hands onto the feet, and then you bring the hands up the inside of the legs, inside of the thighs, over the front of the hips, and underneath, and you can give yourself a little nice spleen tap. And you can take that around, and you can come into the sides, okay? So that's nice and invigorating. So it's a reaching up, take a big stretch, open up the waist, and then hands come down, and it's like you want to draw your arms down, and as you get down, it's like that teenager, kiddie, you know, when kids pretend that they're kissing someone. And you've got loads and loads of nerves here, so this is why this is really important. We've got loads of nerves that help reinforce social connection. And then hugging down towards the waist. Often we, especially as women, seem to have issues around our stomachs, so really good to kind of be like, oh, I like this, nice, friendly, got nice curves. And then hands onto the hips, and then press down over the back of the legs, and use this as an opportunity to get a bit of a hamstring stretch. Push down onto the feet. And then draw the hands up inside, so soft inside. So this is your yin energy, drawing it up from the earth. And you can again tap it into the sides, and you can bring it around onto the top of the chest, like your Tarzan, and onto the sternum. And you can use those little leopard fists if you prefer. You can use your fingers if you're feeling quite tender. And then we'll do it one more time, because it's so nice, right? Reach the arms up and take that hug down. And enjoy a little hug with yourself. It's quite nice just to swing, because also remember that that swinging, rocking feeling is very, very, very calming, very reassuring. So these are all very reassuring parts of the body we're trying to touch. It's the parts of our body that want to feel like they're being nurtured. But also, if we're running the arms down the body, we're running down yang energy. So we're getting rid of all that logical, judgmental energy. We press the feet to ground. And then as we run the hands up through the center front line, it's up through that yin quality, our feminine, our soft, compassionate self. And then a little bit of tapping into those sides just to help us move out some of that stress, that adrenaline, wake up our heart, our immunity. Nice, guys. That's it. And then you can just shake out your hands. Remove that all. And then if you don't have, actually no, I'll do the next one, I'll do the aura cleansing. So the other one is, if sometimes when we feel overwhelmed, it's because we're taking on everyone else and it feels like we're being invaded, right? And we don't have enough space, we don't have the space to breathe. And so you want to do some aura clearing, and there's a couple of types of ways you can do aura clearing. And you might find that different movements feel different at different times. So you can always just try any of them. So the first one's going to be just taking a nice big breath up, like we would do if you think of yoga, and drawing the hands down through to your heart center. And again, bend the knees, open everything out, draw a big space around you. And it's like you're creating a giant bubble for you and drawing then your energy into your heart center. So this is often when we are kind of wanting to create our own space. We need to set our boundaries. It comes from needing to strengthen kind of your inner resources, cultivating your strengths. And you can really push your feet into the ground as you do this. That's it, lovely, good guys. Inhale up, zip it all up nice and strong, and then draw it down into the heart. And then there may be times where that doesn't feel like it's quite working for you. So you can reverse it, so you can reach up, and you can almost take a bit of a back bend as you come down. And then it's like you're drawing up, like you're throwing water up and over yourself. So this one feels a bit more that water flow. You can have a bit more of a back bend. And it's like you're throwing space around you. So this one sometimes is better when we feel like we're kind of letting people permeate our bubble. And we want to put a big splash of cleansing salt water over ourselves to create that space. And then the last aura trick that is my favorite, and Adele's been throwing it into some of the yoga classes. I do this every night. It's figure of eights. Figure eights are the infinity shape, and they're one of the strongest shapes that you can use, as well as spheres. And figure of eights, what you want to do is just start to use your arms and let your body flow. And any part of your body can do this. So you could say you're doing some salsa-y hips, letting your hips go side to side in that figure of eight. Let your arms, they can go sideways. Don't need to get a twist if the shoulders are tight. Allows the upper back to move. You can then start to bend the legs and really let your aura be strong by your feet, but also up and overhead. So this is a lovely way to really fill your own space. And you can draw them overhead. You could take any shape you wanted. So, you know, I quite like doing them in like lunges, because then I really feel like I'm starting to fill my floor space. And just basically any part of your body, beautiful guys, that's it, yeah, just let it go. And when I don't have much space, and I can tell I'm just like mentally struggling, I just do my head. So I draw figures of eight with my nose, and I just let my head do the lead. And that can be enough when you don't have a lot of space, just to let my head get back into my head space. And then don't make yourself too dizzy. And the other one at the end of the day, I find this really helps, especially with headaches, is clearing your head. So the key is that we want to open the crown, okay? So it's kind of like your hairline, and pulling it and opening it. But there are so many points in your head that just doing this, I find like, it really helps, okay? It does really help, but I just really love getting my fingers and like you're washing your hair, just really getting it in, massage the scalp and really let it open. Get into the base of the skull, around the back of the ears, really important. So in terms of our stress points, temples over the top of the ear and down the back, that is a really good area to work when you're stressed and you just want to wipe it down. Just let it all wash off you, throw it away, and then give yourself again another big clean of your head, like when you're washing your hair, you know, when someone else is giving you that lovely massage. Clean it all away, let it roll down your neck, shoulders. And then let it go. And it's completely up to you as to how you like to wash, if that makes sense. But you can, did you get that sense of feeling into where it's sitting in you, like where those little niggly bits are?
Yes.
Yeah. So those are our movement suggestions. In terms of specifically for overwhelm, we're going to go into, I'm going to actually stop the recording and make a separate one to go into the class for this afternoon. But those are very much, obviously there's also, you know, the meditation, the yoga classes that we're doing are also wonderful if you've got the time. But all of those movements, I don't know if you could feel that way in which it just creates a different space around your body. And that just takes away some of that overwhelm, so you've got space for you. Any questions? Very quiet. Everyone's gone so quiet now.
Everyone's like, from all the energy clearing.
Oh, okay. I've clearly got that.